So today's webinar is all about creating labels, and there are a number of labels that we have in the program. I'm going to show those to you first. We're going to go to the label file, we're going to be going into layout mode, and we're going to modify an existing label, and then we're going to create a brand new label from scratch so that you can also get a feel for that. So starting out, we're going to go back into FrameReady, and when we go back into FrameReady here, we are going to be in level 3. You can be doing this in level 3, in level 2, not a problem at all. Simply, we want to go to the label file. And when you're looking at the products, you'll see that there's the product file, but directly below that, there's the icon for the label file. And that looks like a little page full of stickers that you can pull off. It's also located at the top of the screen as well. Either one of those buttons is going to take you directly to the label file. But just before we go there, there are a number of areas where you can print out labels that you don't have to customize. They're already in there for you to be able to use. One of them is in the contacts file. So that if you decided that you wanted to do a mailing to everyone who has an address, okay, but you don't want to mail, I'm going to new request, omit everyone who has an email address, because we're going to reach them with Constant Contact or MailChimp or a marketing program. So these are the people, and maybe I want just my top 100 customers, everybody prior to 100. So I'm going to say perform find, and now I want to send these people something by mail. And at the top of the screen, there is the button that says print address labels, and that's going to give you the address labels. You can sort them out by last name or by zip code or whatever you want, but then when it prints them, it's going to show you that it will print out the labels for all of these people. That's already built into FrameReady, so you don't need to do anything with that. The other place that you can get some labels are in the products file itself. And in the products file, there are some buttons that you can use under the artwork tab, so that if you wanted to print a title label for any piece of art that you have, and let me go to a piece of art at least, that might look a little bit better on that label. So you can use the print title label to create a label just for this record or for the found set. And that is what the label will look like. If you are on a Mac, your barcodes are going to be a little deeper than on Windows. They'll be a little bit shallower. So let's go to the next section. There's also the ready-made labels, so that if this was a ready-made frame, and let me go find a ready-made, then what you would be able to do is print out a label or an insert, and this is already built into the program, so that you can click on ready-made medium label, and it's going to give you your logo, your information, and it's going to help you to market your business. So this is another label that's already built into FrameReady. Now, the last label that I'm going to show you that's built into FrameReady is the one that's in the price codes file. And people have said this before, that they had a barcode on molding, but then they lost it, it got torn off, they can't find it, or this molding doesn't even have a barcode associated with it. So what they wanted to do was to be able to print out molding labels for this. And then these are the print barcode labels, 2 columns, not necessarily my favorite, but they do work. So it'll put the barcode there along with the group that it is and the label identifying which molding number it is. So that will give you another option, but you can always use the label file for that as well. So we're going to move into the label file. I'm going to move back to the main menu. I could go directly to the label file from here, the same in FrameReady. You don't always have to go back to the main menu in order to get to where you want to go. But we're going to stop just for that moment, and Chrissy, go ahead, and we're going to run our first poll.
All right, here we go. Which labels do you use in FrameReady?
Okay, excellent. And then questions that we have so far, Chrissy?
We do not have any questions. Oh, wait, one came out. Where was the barcode print for molding?
Okay, so I'm going to go back to, that'll be back in the price codes file. And even if the molding doesn't have a UPC number attached to it, what it will do is it'll take the molding number itself and create the barcode from that molding number. Now, when you go to the price codes file, you're going to go up to the top of the screen, click on perform, and then go down to print barcode labels. And when you click on that, then it will print out the labels that you want. Make sure you find just the label that you want, or the 2 or 3. Otherwise, you could wind up, running that for all of the labels or all of the molding that's in your database, and you won't want that.
All right, I'm going to close our poll now, and I will share our results with everybody.
Okay. Oh, okay. So now yeah. And I think this was a multiple. You could choose more than one. So a lot of people chose the other, and I'm really curious to find out what the other is. So if you get a chance to type that in the questions, let us know what the other is, so that if that's something we should be adding into the program, we can do that. Great. All right, so I'm going to go back into FrameReady, and just to show you again where that was, we're going to the price codes file. At the top of the screen, you're going to click Perform and go down to Print Barcodes, 2 columns. And then there's the barcode in the top left corner with the group and the item number. There we go. So we're going to go back to the label file, and I'm going to go to the icon at the top of the screen that's for the labels. All right, and in the label file, I want to explain this screen a little bit. And I cheated, I already have my numbers in there. Let's go back over to here on the right-hand side. You're going to see a list of the labels that are currently in your FrameReady program. When you receive the program, there's already some built in there, but you have the ability to create more and add them in. There's a scroll bar on the right-hand side. So if you get a long list of labels, that's fine, you can add them in and they'll all be there. Now the warning is that when you do your upgrade, if you were upgrading from FrameReady 9 or to 10, you could take the label file and drag it over into the new FrameReady 10 and it would stay there. But we made some major changes in FrameReady 11 and you can't just drag it back over. So any of the labels that you've created aren't in there. So I'm going to show you how to add them back in the easiest way possible. Each one of these is a label name, and this is the Avery label 5160. That is the small, actually that is the address label from the Avery labels. And then the 5167 is a return address label. So it's a smaller one, probably about maybe 1/2 inch by 1 1/4 inches, whereas the address label one is about 1 inch by 2 1/4 inches. So it's a little bit larger. The 5163 is quite a large packaging label. If you have an inkjet printer or a laserjet printer, the numbers will change slightly. It might be 8167 or instead of 5167. But that's generally the size of the labels. And then we've added in some other labels in here as well. The number in the top right-hand corner is the one that tells you which layout we're going to be printing. So that if I was to say that we were going to print item number on label number 3, and I selected an item from our list that we could, from the products file, and I type that number in, it automatically fills in the description, the artist, the price. If there's a limited edition number, it will put that in there. And this field's normally blank, so you would identify how many of those you want to print. So if I had 2 or 3 of them in stock and I wanted to print 3 of them, then I would simply enter that number. The number below this is the starting position. So if I've already used up the first 2 labels and I want to start at label number 3, then that's what I'm going to do, is enter in the starting position for the label. And that's important so that you're not wasting a whole sheet of labels every time you print. So now I'm going to click on the print button, and it's going to show me a display of those labels with the item number, the description, the artist, the barcode is on there, and then the retail price for the customer. And you can see that it skipped the first 3 labels and started at label number 4 on the list. Whenever you're in this screen, it's going to stop as a preview so you can see if this is exactly what you want to print out. And then you need to go up to the top right-hand corner and you're going to click on the continue bar, and it'll show you the print dialog box. It will identify your printer, and you can either select to print or you can cancel the print job. The other thing that is on this screen that you may want to use is that if you have other labels that you want to print as well. So you can click the next button, and it gives you a clean, fresh start again so that you can enter in another layout number. And then it will provide the information, and it'll ask you how many of these labels do you want to print. And if I have a larger quantity, then I can enter that. You can continue doing this until you got all your labels entered in that you want, and then you would click print, and now it will print out all of those labels that you've selected. And again, you can change the start for each time. Going back to cancel. Now, when you're finished, it will automatically clear the screen for you, but because I canceled the print job, it didn't clear the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this Start Over button. The Start Over button is only on this secondary screen once I've entered a label in. I'm going to click Start Over, and it says, this is something new. Are you sure you want to start over? Because you've entered a pile of things in there possibly already, and if you say yes, I want to start over, then it gets you back to the preliminary screen where you notice there isn't a start over button. Instead, it says, what's your starting position? So that's the difference between those two screens. The other thing that you may want to do is that you may want to import a large number of products that you've just received. So in the products file, if you were to locate all the things that you just received recently, and I'm just going to go to my list view and say find the marked boxes because I marked a bunch of items that came into inventory, and perhaps this is the quantity that I've received. So you can see I've received a lot of things in inventory, and I need to print out a label for each one of them. In fact, I need to print 4 for this one, 4 for this one, 5 for this one, because it's this new inventory that just came in. 20 of these down here at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is, now that I have my list showing in the products file, I want to go back to the labels screen, and when I click on labels, down here at the bottom are a series of buttons. So I could import a list from the price codes file, from the products file, or from the work orders file. So I'm going to click on products and select that first. And it's going to ask me, where do you want to start? And I'm going to say, let's start at label number 1, because we didn't do that one yet. Now, over on the right-hand side, I'm going to change to a different label, and we'll use that smaller label and see how that looks. So this is label layout number 4, which is the small return address label. So when I click print, it's going to show me the page is filled with all of those labels, 4 for the first item, 4 for the second item, and 5 for the next item after that. So you can see the quantity of 4 for this one, the quantity of 4 for that one, and it continues on. If there is more than one label on here, one page that's being printed, you can see in the top left-hand corner that I can click on the small arrow that points to the right, and it will show me the next page, which is coming up in just a moment there. There we go. Birds of Paradise, the birch bark in Michigan. So all of those items are up there now. It's also showing me in the top left corner the label layout that I'm using, 5167. So remember that, because we're going to be learning about that next and how we can change it. But you'll also notice that on here, I'm noticing that perhaps the price is a little bit too close to the edge of the label. If you are testing these for the first time, my recommendation would be print it onto a plain piece of paper, print it out and hold that piece of paper up to the labels, up to a window or a light, so that you can see how they're lining up, because if they don't line up correctly, then you're going to want to make some adjustments. And the adjustments can be a little bit tricky. If there are really simple ones, such as we need to bring this price over to the left, then we can do that. If it's something that's a little bit more complex, such as the left-hand side is over the edge and the right-hand side on the right-hand side is over the edge, and the other two are just slightly over the edge on the 2 inner labels, which means that your margins need to be brought in a little bit, and that's going to adjust everything. And we'll take a look at that as well. That might be something actually that we look at in another video, just because adjusting the labels can be very time-consuming and a little bit tricky. So I'm going to click on Start Over. So now that we've taken a look at the screen and how to print out the labels, I want to show you how to be able to go in to make those changes on them. And first of all, I want to go back to my little shortcut that I've got down here, because I want to show you the layouts. So over on the right-hand side, where I showed you all of the label layouts, right, we're going to go into layout mode, and that's where you're going to see all of those same items that we've typed in over on the right-hand side. So you can type in anything that you want over here. This is the name of the layout that you gave it. If you don't name it, it's just going to say layout number 17 or layout number 18. Naming the layout makes it a little easier for you to find it later, and also to connect it with the correct one. You'll also see on the top left corner that we have two layouts for the data entry. And I mentioned that where the first one you don't see the start over button and the second one has the start over button on it. So when you're going back after you've been into FrameReady and you're going back, always go to the very first one, which is the data entry. So let's go and take a look at this. And Chrissy, I'm going to ask you if you want to put in another poll there now, just before we go into layout mode.
Sounds good. And we do have quite a few questions, so we'll keep you busy while we're doing the poll.
Okay, great.
All right, to start our first question, and also everybody use the other poll for the other field that you were asking me about. Most of them are here to learn about doing the labels, so that's why they chose other.
Okay, great. Oh, that's good. That's good. All right.
Could this system be used to print labels for boxed molding with molding numbers with footage in box in big, easily readable fonts?
Yes, you would want to use that large label, the 5163, and then take the fields from the price codes file and create a label that's going to have the quantity on there and the molding number and even a description of it. Any of the fields that you have in the price codes file can be used to put onto the label. So yes, it would give you what the field is, what the quantity is. Now the thing is that it's only going to give you the quantity at that time. Of course, your quantity is going to be changing constantly.
Right, thank you. Some of these questions, Carol, you may have answered during your talk, but I was busy writing the questions down, so please forgive me if you've answered them.
Okay.
Is there a list of recommended labels, and are all of the labels in FrameReady Avery labels?
Good question. Yes, there are Avery labels in there, but there's also a Dymo label that you can use, and that's the one that prints out in a long strip. So you could set that up. But the majority of them are the Avery labels, but they don't have to be specifically the Avery brand as long as they are the same size label, and then you can adjust the margins to make them fit.
Okay, our next question is start position always vertical?
Vertical. There, you can create your own labels for the other direction, but yes, it's always the columns print from the left to the right, and they go down the screen. So yes, it always prints down the screen rather than horizontally across.
Okay, I'm gonna close the poll for now, Carol, and I still have like 2 or 3 more questions.
Okay. Yep.
And I will share our results.
Okay. Okay, so no, it looks scary is the top number answer. Okay, good. We're going to try and take some of the fear out of it today.
Yes. All right, I'm going to hide the results and then I'll ask you these other questions.
Okay, great.
My apologies. Where is the main print label section with the list of labels?
Okay. I'm going to go right back into FrameReady again, back to the main menu. And now in the main menu, we want to go to either the product labels at the top of the screen, or we want to go down to the label button down here. That list of labels is on the right-hand side of the screen. And once we get into layout mode, you're going to see how that list is connected in layout mode. So that's what I was showing you, the two diagrams where they're connected. We'll get into that part next. So let's go into modifying one of the existing labels that we have. So here's where I know it looks a little bit scary, but bear with me on this one. We're going to go up to the top of the screen. And if you have your handout, it tells you on the handout the sequence that we're going to go through. So we're going to go up to Perform at the top of the screen, and we're going to select Restore Full Menus. Once we do that, this is all actually, it's what we call the layout. Well, no, it's actually just giving us the full menus at the top to start with. So I'm just going to go back and do that again. So, well, actually, it did two things because it gave me the header at the top as well, the status toolbar. So now, once we've selected Perform and Restore Full Menus, you're going to see more words at the top of the screen. The next thing that I want to do is I want to go down to View and then I want to go into layout mode. But I'm not going to do that right now. So normally I would go to status toolbar, but it's already shown it to me. So that's a nice little extra step that they've added in. But let's go to the data entry and select which label we want to modify. And if we were to select this 5167 label that we decided we wanted to change the font or change something that's on it, that's the layout that we would select. So and this is the list that I'm telling you that matches the list over here on the right-hand side. So if we were to select 5167, which is layout number 4, that's that teeny tiny label, you're not going to see anything right now because we're in browse mode. So instead, we're going to go up to view at the top and we're going to select layout mode. Okay, now that we're in layout mode, now we can make some changes. And that's the safest, easiest way to get in here and out of here. So I'm going to back that out again. So I'm going to say, let's go out of this. We're going to go back up to the data entry. We're going to go back to browse mode. Okay, and now we're back to where we were before. So you've clicked on, and menus aren't the same anymore now, but if you've clicked on Perform, Restore Full Menus, we're going to go over to the left-hand side of the screen, click on Data Entry, and then we're going to go to the layout that we want to change. I'm going to select this one because it's a large one and gives us lots of room to play with. And now what I want to do is I want to go into the View mode and then go to layout mode. Now layout mode, it shows you the layout of the label. And I probably should have put my sample one back in there so that you could see it in preview mode what it looked like. There are 3 modes that you can look at. The ones that we're going to use the most are browse mode, which is where you put your data entry in, layout mode, where you can make the changes, and then preview mode so that you can see what the changes look like. We're in layout mode right now, and there are 2 types of fields that you can put on here. This one is a merge field because it has these little arrows or carrots on the end of it. But there's also a field that you could use as well, and that's more of a confined space. So let's go ahead and start with the merge field. If I want to make a change to this, what I need to do is rather than using the arrow to move around, I'm going to use the letter T, and that's going to give me the cursor so that I can decide that I want the item number to be smaller. All I have to do is highlight the item number to change it. And over on the right-hand side, and this is on your handout, it shows you that there's a little artist's palette over here to change the appearance of things. And if we decide that we want to change the text down here at the bottom, then I can decide that on this one, instead of having it 18 point, I want to make it 14 point. And you can see that it's instantly changed it. And then if I decide that I want to go to the description and I want to make that bold, so since my cursor was still an I-beam, I highlighted it. And now that it's an arrow again, I can go over to the right-hand side and click on the letter B to make it bold. And if I want to change the font, then I can click on Arial and change the font to something else. Now, the other thing that you can do is if you decide that you don't want to use the one on the right-hand side, again, this is on your handout, if you click on Format at the top of the screen, you can also change the font, the size, the style, the alignment of the text. You can change all of that right here at the top of the screen just by clicking on the font or size, style, or if you wanted to align the text, or if you had a color printer and you wanted it to print out in color, you can do that. So that's a simple way to make changes to the existing layout on the label. If we were to go back now, and I'm going to go back out of here again, and when I click on this and I go back to data entry, it's going to ask me if I want to save the changes that I've made. If you made a mistake at any place along the way, click on Don't Save, okay? And that will revert everything directly back to the way it was. All right, and I'm going to go back up to the top now, and I'm going to go into browse mode so that we can see the changes. And then if I put in that item number with the evening song, and we were to take a look at the label now, it's going to be the same as it was before because I clicked on Don't Save, but we'll make those changes again. So 5163, Okay, that's what it looks like right now. Okay, and then if I go up to view and I go to layout mode, this allows me to make those changes. Remember, I want to use my letter T and I want to highlight the merged field. And then on the right-hand side, I can make the size changes. I can highlight any of the text and go up to format at the top, and I can change the size or the style at this point. Okay, and now if I go back up to view mode and select preview mode, and I save the changes, then it'll show you that this is now bold and this number is smaller. So that's how you can make changes to the merge field. So let's go back up to view and we'll go down to layout mode again. And this time we'll move to a different label because we do have some of the other labels in here that I believe have a field on them rather than having the merge field. And these are two of them. So this is a field. If you decide that you want to add a field on there rather than using these merge fields, and the merge fields just simply say that it can fill in this whole space. And when if artist is the only thing in here, it will be in the middle because the other field isn't needed at all. So it helps to readjust or realign. And that's the merge field. And it'll fill in multiple lines if needed. But when you're using just a straight field, that's the space that it's allowed to have. It's not going to, you can't put other fields with it. You can't merge other fields together with it, and that's the difference. The other nice thing about using the field that's just set onto there, and you can add a new one if you go up to the top of the screen and click on the icon at the top center to add the field. And once you do that, if you hold your mouse over top, it's actually going to give you a tooltip that says field/control tool, and this will add a field. Then you can take your cursor, which now looks like a little crosshair, and now you can drag a field onto there. And it'll automatically ask you, what field do you want? And you can say, well, let me see. And normally, because I was playing with here earlier, it's going to give you all the different fields that are in the label file so that you can say, I want this to be the price field. And you're going to say, okay, so it's now put the price field on there. You can type words in, and that's using the letter T, so that if I was to drag a field onto here, now I can type in the word price if I want, and that would print out onto every label. So if you're seeing the word do on every label, that's because it's been typed on there and it's just automatically going to appear on every single label. So if we were to go up into the preview mode up top and take a look at this label, and I'll say save the changes because we can always undo these, you're going to see the price field that I put in there and the word price. Okay, so we'll exit out of the preview mode, and we're going to take those out of there just by clicking on them and hitting the backspace key. Now, as I said, if at any point in time you've decided that I made a change and I didn't really want to make that change, then you can go ahead and say don't save. And then you will need to start over again, but that's okay. The other thing you can do is if you decide, gee, I want to make changes to this label, but I'm a little bit nervous about that, go up to the top of the screen where it says layouts and duplicate the layout. So we're on layout number 6 right now. There are 18 layouts in here, but if I duplicate this layout, it's, okay, save changes to this layout, and I'm going to say, I'll say don't save. There we go. Oh, so it left them in there now. So now here's my sale copy, the one that I've just been playing with. It's a copy of the original layout, and it took the layout name, which was sale, and then it added the word copy to it. If you want to change the name of the layout, then all you need to do is go up to layouts at the top of the screen, go down to layout setup. It's halfway down, okay? And now you can change the name sale extra price. Okay, so we've created the new name, and now once I've added that in, you can see that this layout is called Sale Extra Price, and it's number 19. So this is nice because you've got your backup one here. If you decide that you want to go back to the layout label that you were on, just click on the drop-down list, and scroll back up and find that sale label that we were working on previously, because, yeah, we'll save that one. Okay, so now we've got the one that I had the price on there and the other price. So now you can make changes and not be worried, because if you have that other copy down there, then you can just add it in here, any pieces that you missed. So for example, if I was working with this and I click on the barcode because I want to move it, anytime you click on the barcode, you're going to notice that it only highlights this one little section over on the left-hand side. And that's because this is actually a string of a series all connected together. And you can use the arrows on your keyboard to move an item upward or move it downward. Okay, over to the right or over to the left to position it where you want. The barcode will always start flush left, but then if it's a really long barcode, you've got enough space that it will move over to the right and not fall off the edge of the label. And that's another important thing to know, is that even if things do appear to go to the far right-hand side of the label or off the label, it's still okay, because it's going to start out in the printed area here. And unless you've got some really large expensive numbers that you're going to be putting on there, chances are they're not going to fall off the edge of the label, and it will be fine. But if you do happen to make a mistake and you accidentally delete that barcode, again, as I said, when you're leaving that screen and you're going to another layout, you have the choice to say don't save. But let's say you made a mistake, okay, and you clicked save and you didn't mean to. So on that label that we were playing with, if I go back to the sale label, there is no barcode on here anymore. So the easiest thing to do is to go to that copy that you made, okay, click on that and then copy it. And now you can go back to the label that you're working on and then paste it in there and reposition it to wherever you want, just using your little arrows and moving it around. And now everything's back to the way that it was, so that when you leave this and you're going to go back to your data entry and it's going to ask you, do you want to save the changes? You're going to say, yes, I want to save them because I put that label right back in there. So if we go back to that design that we were working on, the sale, the only other thing that I think you might want to be able to do here with this field is that in the price field, you would want to have the dollar sign on there. And I know that it's one of these items down here at the bottom where we have data formatting, and I'm just going to hide some of the others to bring this up. So under the data formatting, I have this one formatted as currency, so that it's fixed to 2 decimal places, so it'll put the 0.00 on there. It has the symbol of the dollar sign in there, and then if it's a negative number, it will show it as a negative, which really doesn't matter because we're never going to use it for that. Unless, well, there's probably some reason somebody might want it, but this is the section that you want to be in. It's the little drum at the top, and you're going to go to data formatting. If I was to take that out, okay, and just change this back to being as entered or general, then when I go up to the preview, and we'll go to the preview mode, okay, and I'm going to say save. Okay, you'll notice that this one does not have the dollar sign, does not have the decimal place, so it's no longer currency. I'm going to exit out of preview mode using that little button there, and we're right back into the layout. So now I can click on the field for price, and then over on the right-hand side, make sure that I've got the data file, and I'm going to go down to format. I'm going to select currency, and it automatically puts in the dollar sign for me. I just want to check the little box and say, yes, I want 2 decimal places. If you don't want to use the decimal places because everything's an even number, you don't need that, and it makes the price look a little bit smaller, then you don't need to select the 2 decimal places. It's up to you, your preference, how you want to do that. So now the only thing I need to do is to go back here. I'm going to go back up to data entry, and I'm going to say save, and now my label has been saved. So we've made some changes, we've deleted the barcode, we added the barcode back in. I'm going to go back up here to view, to browse mode. And if I did want to keep that other label down here, then I would put that added in here, sale, extra, price, and then I do want to identify that that's layout number 19, because if I did print this out and I say that I need one of these and I used layout number 19, you're going to see that goofy little extra price up in the top right-hand corner that I've added it without the formatting. Okay, if you decide you don't want that label after all, and you've created it, then you can delete it. We're going to go back up to View at the top of the screen. We're going to select Status Toolbar. Okay, we're going to go down to the layout that we've selected, the Sale Extra Price one. And now I'm going to go into Layout mode. And now that I'm in Layout mode, I'm going to say that I don't want this anymore. I'm going to go up to the top of the screen, click on Layouts, and then I'm going to select Delete Layout. Okay, permanently delete this layout, and this is the one with the extra price on it that I don't want, and I'm going to say Delete, and now it's gone. So now I can go right back up to the top of the screen again, back to Data Entry, go back up to View, and select Browse Mode, and everything is back to normal. Okay. Chrissy, do you ready to run another poll? And we might have some other questions. And then we're going to go and create a new label.
Yep, I'm going to run the poll, and we do have a couple questions.
Okay.
Now that you've watched this webinar, select one of the following. I love this poll, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple questions that we had. You started printing labels at starting position 3, but the labels began at the 4th label. Did they see that correctly?
Ah, okay. And it's so hard to know. I thought I said to start at 3. You're right. And I think it was starting at 3, but I couldn't count because there was nothing to see on there. So we'll go back and test that. It should be starting at label number 3 then. If it says start at 3, then it doesn't skip 3. It starts at 3.
Okay. Is it possible to import the database of products from Square online store into FrameReady products so that I can make labels?
If you can export the information out of Square Online so that it's in a Excel file format, then yes, you can import it into FrameReady.
Okay, and can the barcode be adjusted also, not in position, but the size of it?
Yes, yes, I should show you that next. Absolutely.
And one more, does the barrel have a menu button at the top?
The barrel says data on it, but there isn't a menu button at the top of it, I don't believe. There may be something under format. I'll have to take a look and see if there's something under format. I usually use, that's called an inspector on the right-hand side of the screen, and that's usually what we use to change things.
Okay, I just have one last question and then I'll close the poll.
Okay.
So in theory, I can use the label print feature to make title cards for my art on the walls that print on regular paper rather than self-adhesive labels.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, there's a label layout in there, and I think that's the art display card that's designed to go onto a regular sheet of paper. They used to have those business cards that you could perforated edges and you could break them all apart, and that's what that one was designed to be used with. But you could just have it as a regular open page, basically, and just decide the size of your labels that you want and create it that way.
Great, thank you. And here is our poll.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, and we haven't even really taught you that part. I changed the sequence of the polls a little bit because of what we're doing. So before we even taught you how to do the new labels, you're ready to start. That's excellent. Okay, so let's go take a look at those barcodes because you might want to change the barcode size, and that's a really good idea. And if we go back into View and we go down to the status toolbar is already checked, so I'm going to go back to, well, no, let me go over to the data entry first. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the one that says Sale. Okay, and we'll go back up to View at the top, and now we'll go into Layout mode. And now that we're in Layout mode, you can see that this is a larger barcode. But if you go back to the 5160, that's about the same size. And then we've got the one on the 5167, which is yet smaller. So you could copy the smaller barcode label and put that onto one of the other files. And the one that's the largest one there is the 5163, of course. However, I don't know that you could squish it down. I would be questioning that, whether that would work or not. What you would probably want to do is make a copy. Go ahead and drag that down. Let me just make a copy on this one over here. Well, actually, we'll just make a copy of this. There we go. And we're going to go over to layouts, and we're going to duplicate the layout. There we go. And then if you did take that little icon at the top, and I don't know if you can see that clearly enough on there. Can you see that, Chrissy? Yeah, there we go. So that's a little bit better probably to see. So there's that little box that shows you what's highlighted. If I clicked on here, you'd see the box up here as well. But when I click on the barcode, it's showing the box, and I can use the shift key to drag it down evenly, or just hold it and drag it down. But you know, anytime you do something you think you shouldn't have done, do the Control-Z or Z, or Command Z, or just go up to Edit and select Undo, and it will undo it. So yeah, I'm finding it a little difficult myself, even just to resize this or make changes to it. So my suggestion would be to copy it and paste it onto the one that you want. So I'm going to go back up to the other one that we had up here. Save changes, don't save. Okay, so that's the question that had to do with the barcode. And I think that there was another one that gave me an idea, but that's okay, we'll carry on, and it'll probably come up in the next sequence. So one of the things that I found was that because some of my barcodes did not come over from, and I'll make this smaller again a bit, it did not come in from FrameReady 10, I wanted to recreate those in here. So in order to create a new one, what you need to do is go up to layouts. So this is how to create a brand new, and you know what, let's go back to the very start here. So we're back up to here, and we're back into browse mode. That's what it was I wanted to show you. You were asking about where it started. And if we use the sale one, because that has pre-printed letters on there, let's just verify the layout and where it starts. So if I asked it to start at label number 3, there should be 2 that say sale, sale before we print the one that we want here. So we'll give that a try. Yep, there are. So regular, regular. Okay, there we go. Now. So anything that's a word that you've said, this goes on to every layout, it is going to print on those empty spots on the page where the stickers were. But that tells me for sure that yes, this is skipping those items and pulling it in at the correct position. Super. I'm going to go back and change this for a moment. Okay, and what I want to do now is I want to show you how to copy from your old program or create a brand new label. So I'm going to remove this one because I'm going to be working with a molding number here, or a frame backing. And let me just go to next item and clear this out, actually. Okay, next item, start over. And that's easier to start over than to clear it out. The label that I had in my old FrameReady program, and I have it open down here at the bottom, it was a frame backing label. And the frame backing label had all kinds of information on it, and I thought I really want to keep this. So I went into the old FrameReady program and did the exact same thing that we've been doing here, and that is, let's go back in. Okay, so I'm in the label file. I know I have one that I want to copy. It's label number 17. I've gone into view. I've gone down to layout mode. I'm going over to the layout, and I'm going to the frame backer. And what I can do is I can click on this, and it highlights all of the text that's in there, or I could go up to edit and do the select all, and that would highlight all the little bits and pieces if they were all separated. But then I can say copy. And now that I've copied that, I can hide this version because I don't need it anymore, or close it or exit, because now I'm back into my FrameReady 11 version. And now I'm in the new program. So I'm going to go back up to product labels, and I want to go back up to perform, and then restore full menus. Okay, over on the left-hand side, I can go down to any one of the other labels if I have one. It doesn't really matter. I'll probably just pick the one that's down at the bottom, and I'm going to go up to View and go into Layout Mode, because it's only when I'm in Layout Mode that I can add a new layout. And when I click on Layouts, the very first thing I want to select is New Layout. Now I know it says New Report, but no, you can't create reports from here. This is for a label file, so this is strictly just a new layout. And when I click on New Layout, it asks me what we're going to be doing with this, and we're going to be printing this, so I want to use the printer. But before we do that, I'm going to change this to Frame Backer, and I already have one in there, so I'm just going to call this Frame Backer 2 so that I don't get them confused. Okay, and I'm going to say that this is something that's going to be printed out. So when I click on the printer icon, it automatically asks me what I'm making, whether I'm making labels or vertical labels or envelopes. And you don't need envelopes because you can print that out in the contacts file much faster and easier. I want to select labels over here, and it's going to show me a little set of stickers. And when I've selected that, I can click Continue. All right, and this is where it says, what is the style of the label that you're using? Is this 5160, 5167? And here's a list of all of the different Avery labels that are in here. And as I mentioned, so if you have the 8167, we could choose that one instead because that's the LaserJet one. And I believe down here at the bottom, they have the different Dymo labels that you could select as well. So I'm going to try the 8167 and see what that is like. And it's already put in all of the measurements that you need. If you decide that you don't want to use one of these labels, you can do your own custom measurements. So if you're creating your own on just a regular sheet of paper, and then you can click on Use Custom Measurements and enter in that I want 3 labels across, or I want 2 labels across, and then it'll actually calculate the width and the height. And you can also say how many space do you want from the margins, from the very edges of it. So I'm going to go back up to use the Avery 8167. We will say next. And now this is where if I wanted to, I could select the different items that I wanted to be on there. And if I selected the item number that I wanted on there, and then I can do a carriage return, and right underneath that, I want the description. And then right underneath that, I want price. So I could create my own label this way by adding these items in. And you know what, let's just go ahead and do that. And we'll say finish. And it's already added them into the label. Now, obviously, they're a little bit too big. So I'm going to just take the T and highlight those items to make them smaller. So I can go back up to the format at the top and change that size and bring it down to maybe an 8 point because I don't need it that big. The description is still a little bit too big again, but I might want to make it bold. Oops, let's go to bold or plain text. Okay. Style, we're going to go to bold. You can see why I use the inspector all the time and why I like that tool.
Carol, can we add the someone's logo into the label as well?
Yes, if you decided that you wanted to have, let me make this bigger too. If you decided that you wanted to have your logo in there, you could do that as well. I'm going to take all this information that I've got in there and I'm going to take it out right now. And I am going to go back here and put the paste in because I did copy that item from the previous label. So I'm going to click paste. Okay. I'm going to say yes, let it go in there. Okay, and now it's pasted in all the items from my previous label that I had in FrameReady. So this is allowing me to copy it and put them in there. So, and this is where I wanted to say, if it does go off the edge of the label, and I made it a little bit too big there, let's go back, and it looks like it's going off the edge of the label, don't worry about that because the frame number that you've got isn't going to be that big, or the other information isn't going to be that large. If you decide that you do want to put your logo on here, I'm going to go back to, this is the frame backer that I got finished from before. Go ahead and save that, that's fine. So this is the information that it has in here on the frame backer, and it would give you the work order number, the description, the frame 1 size, and then I have the word size on here with the fields. And then in the fields, using the letter T, because I typed in the word size, I added a space in between so that it would give that space. And then over to the right, there's also another space, and I typed the letter X so it would have 16 by 20 or whatever information I wanted. And then I'm just going to go back to the top of the screen here, and we're going to see what this looks like. Okay, and we'll say save. I'm going to make the screen a little bit smaller again, just so we can see what it looks like in real time. And then if I was to go back to a work order, and here's my tip for the work order, is that on this work order, you can see the work order number. And I want to copy that number, but I can't do it in this field because it's the tinted one. However, here's the trick. If I was to click on the word shop, now I can highlight that and copy that number and then go back to order, and nobody's going to accidentally change it. So if I go back to the label file now, I can type in that molding number. I'm going to say that I need one of these labels. This is going to be label number 18, and when I print it out, this is what I can put onto the back of any of the framed pieces that I do, so that it has the work order number, what it was, the molding that was used, the size of it. You can see the word size appeared, the little X's in between, the mat board number, and all the other information. So if you wanted to know what those fields were, I can send that to you, and we can include that as a layout if that's something you're interested in, recreating that layout to put into your FrameReady program. So let me just go click continue. I'll click cancel, and we'll go take a look at the logo, because the logo can also go on there. And I'm going to say start over, and let me just put in that item again, the evening song. We're going to go back up to perform, restore full menus, data entry. Let's go to the art display card now. Okay, and this is the one that has the logo on there already. Okay, along with your address and some other information. And now, because we want to make changes to it, we're going to click on View, and we're going to go to Layout Mode. So over on the left-hand side here, you can see that there is a container that has the logo in it. If I decide that the address really doesn't need that much space, again, I can move that over a little bit, and then I can take that logo and enlarge it so that it's going to have more space. Maybe I have more of a rectangular logo than I have a square logo. You can change that. Again, you can take that box, copy it, okay, and add it onto any of the other logos or labels, sorry, that you have in here. So that if I was going to go to the Art ID tag one, okay, save this, okay, and then I decide I want to paste that on there. So now the logo is going to appear on this card as well. And I can make it as large or small as I want. And then if I was to take a look at it to see how it's going to look, okay, save those changes, you can see that the logo has appeared on this one as well. And there's the one that has the do on it. I knew there was one that did. If I wanted to take a look at that art display card now, because I did make this a little larger, this seems to be riding a little high. So now we may want to move that down. I'll go back up to the top of the screen, go back into layout mode, click on the box, move the box down a little bit. Okay, go back into view, preview that. It's going to ask me, do you want to save this? Yes. And now I'm just going to work with it a little bit until I get it to look the way that I want it to. So that if I wanted to make my logo larger or smaller, I can. And then I can also click on exit preview mode right here, and it takes me right back to the layout as well, so that I can still continue to make adjustments or make the font smaller or larger. But yes, absolutely, your logo can go on there, which is a great way to market your business. Super. Are there any other questions that have come up, Chrissy?
Yes, we have a couple.
Okay.
My rulers are in pots. How do I change to inches?
Yes. Okay. So you're going to notice that in the top left-hand corner, let me go back into that sale label at least. Okay. In the top left-hand corner, it'll say IN, CM, or PT. So if it's measuring it in centimeters, all you need to do is click on that square in the top left corner, and it's going to change it to points. Okay. Click on it again, and it's changed it to inches. So you can measure in any of those that you want. And that's how the rulers will display at the top of the screen.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question, and I think you may have answered this one just after he asked. And can this be used to print the shop labels that they put on the finished frame?
Yes, and that's exactly the one, that frame backer. So that what I can do is I can send this layout in a form that you can actually see it. I don't know if I can send it in a way that you can copy it, and that's the difficult part. These fields are all merge fields, and to get to the merge fields, we're going to go up to, let me put my letter T in here, and I'm going to go into where it says WO Matt's item 1 number. And I'm placed my cursor after that, and I'm going to create a space. I'm going to move up to the top of the screen to insert, and I'm going to go down to merge field down at the bottom of the screen. Once I've clicked on merge field, it's showing me just the ones that are available from labels, but I want to pull out the ones that are available from the work order. In order to do that, on this top portion where it says the current table is labels, instead I'm going to click on the double arrows, and now it shows me other files that I can pull information out of. The one that we want is the WO, that's for work orders. The letter P is for products, and the letter PC is for price codes. And I would say that those are probably the ones that you really want to stay with. So if I'm going to click on WO, it's going to show me a list of all of the items and all the fields, every single field that you can imagine. And this is good. It's not in alphabetical order. You can see that I've got an AA down here and an STD. So these are STS files, they're all over the place. So what you can do is, if you were to click on any one of these and let it go ahead and put that in, because now I can erase it. And once I've erased it, deleted it, and I go back up to insert, select merge field, okay, now they're all in sequence. They're all in alphabetical order. So I want to find Matt's 2. So I'm going to scroll up on the list. I'm looking for the one that's called Matt's 2, because there are multiple Matts, and maybe we had more than one Matt on here. And here it is, so I can just see it a little bit there. There you go, Matt 2 lookup. I'm going to add that field in. And when I add that field into this, and I add another space, oh, okay, it was already in there. Okay, so maybe I should just change this one to say Matt 3 lookup. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to back out the number 2, and I'm going to place in the number 3. So you can see this keeps going all the way across. And even though it's gone off the edge of the label, that's okay, because if, chances are your mat board numbers aren't going to be that long. So I'm going to go back up to data entry. Okay, save the change that I've just made here. Go back into the browse mode. And then if I was to select, okay, put a 1 in there, tell it to start over. Okay, and now I can put that other work order number in there, and I think that was the work order number. We'll say we need one of those. This is label number 18, which is the backer. We'll click print, and now you can see that that only had one mat in there. Otherwise, if it had more than one mat, it would put them in both in there. But that's a label that, if that's just a small one, if you wanted to make a larger one with your logo on it, you could do that. Put the logo on there as well. And then put that onto the back of the framed piece. Can you imagine, as another framer opening this up, or when it comes back into your shop, that all that information is right there? That's awesome. So, and it gives you a little bit of credibility. If you wanted to have something on there that said conservation items were used in the framing of this item, if that can just be a text, and you could select the correct label that you've got for it. Great. Any other questions, Chrissy?
We do, but I don't think we have time to answer them. But what we can do is, I've written them all down, and we can send them back to them.
Thank you very much, everyone, for your time.
Bye.